Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest edition of Expert Insight. My name is Dan Club. I'm absolutely delighted to say I'm joined by Juventus fan and podcaster Giuseppe Bognanni for this one. Giuseppe, how are we, mate? You okay?
I'm doing extremely well. Happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. Really appreciate it.
No, our pleasure. Absolutely delighted to have you on. I mean, as backdrops go, I've been speaking to a lot of people about Chiesa these last few days. I think you might have the best backdrop of them all, so congratulations on that. Sound, let's get into it. Federico Chiesa, once a Juventus player, now a Liverpool player for 10 million quid, 12 and a bit million euros. Crazy, crazy cheap. First and foremost, are you sad to see him go?
Yeah, of course. Federico Chiesa was a fan favorite, was an Italian fan favorite, the prodigal son, or, the guy of Juventus that you want to put on a cover when you are launching a new season. So, of course, when a guy like that is leaving, you have sadness, you're a bit bitter. On the other side, if I speak for myself, I always say, if you want a wedding to work really well, it needs to work from both sides. And sometimes for strange reasons, wedding, they go to an end and then it's better to leave. I always say, but for any other player, when you don't find the ideal condition to continue, it's better for both, for the club and for the player to leave. So in a way, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the club. But of course, I would have loved that Federico Chiesa would have been a player of Juve for the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you noticed the difference in Chiesa, obviously, sort of pre and post injury? You'd have watched him in the Fiorentina days, obviously for Italy as well, when he was the star or one of the stars of that European Championship success. What is the difference, if there is one, between him then and the post ACL version of Chiesa, the version Liverpool are going to get now? Has he changed much as a player?
Yeah, a lot. Unfortunately, a lot. I'm sure, and I will reassure all the Liverpool fans that he's about to be again the player that he was. But from what we saw, because he stayed at Juventus 4 years, the first Federico of 2021, plus, because I want to add also that Euro that Italy has beaten England, if I remember right. I don't remember. Yeah. Federico Chiesa was fantastic. A player that was unpredictable, that pointed a lot on his velocity, skills. Again, unpredictability is probably the best word to describe him. Player that could play regardless on the left, on the right. If he was on the right side, he loved to enter. And then, he's also a player that can use both feet, left, right, regardless, with the same power. It's a player that was just top. He comes back, and after a slow start, after Euro, I believe still enjoying of that euphoria of the post-Euro, he's really believing that he's that close to be at the level of Mbappe, Holland, or the international star, the 5, 10 huge big players. He's really believing it. And unfortunately, after that slow start, he comes back in January, where on the 9th of January, he has that huge, big ACL problem. Stops immediately. He wants, because it's a player that is really a workhorse and also has that grinta inside of him. He wants to try again. In these few minutes, he doesn't realize, and he wants to try again. He comes back on the field, but it's over for him, and he understands it. Season goes away, where the first predictions were he will be there at the start of the new season. So we are already speaking about the third season of Federico at Juve, where most of the people that were a bit more expert in these kinds of injury, they said that year when he will come back will not be a real year when you can expect, Federico. It's not the one that you put like in your starting lineup when you're fantasizing about transfer market. So put him aside, but that's that joker that will probably come back right before, right after that World Cup break, a World Cup break that has been seen really as a real huge benefit, because he could take all the time in the world to rest, to recuperate, to start again a new preparation. And we were counting on him on that second part. And that's where you see the real different Federico, because the one pre-injury, he perfectly knew what he wanted to do, and he was successful in doing it, while the comeback after that injury, after that World Cup, you see a Federico that is looking for himself. A bit scared to do the movements that he was used to do. Because when you are defender, central defender, you are doing some kind of movements with your body that when you have an ACL, you are easier to recuperate from them. when you are a player that is playing like Federico on that part of the field, when one of your strengths is that short change from left to right or from right to left, really to burn your opponents, then it's quite difficult for him because he doesn't find it anymore. And you see that he's really battling with himself. He's recuperated from a physical point of view, but not mental point of view. He's still scared because he's also asking himself, I need to prove myself that I'm still that player. And when a lot of people were thinking, okay, he's back now physically and he's there, we need also a Federico that is fighting for the team, that is giving that extra for the team, you clearly see that he's actually fighting to prove himself, I am back, which we didn't see in that first season. But of course, ACL needs 1 year physically, 1 year mentally, and then you are back. And we go towards that last season where last season it has been okayish Federico, one that is still battling to find himself a bit out of that team, if you really want, because you see that when it's not working, what he wants to do is a bit blaming the field, blaming the sky, blaming something that is actually not there, just in his head. And then you see these flashes where you see that's the Chiesa, he's back. And you see it for 2-3 games and then he disappears again. It's a different player. It's a different player that is, I believe, on his path to become a new version, that Chiesa 2.0. I think to reassure a fan that he's now at the Chiesa 1.8, and a change of environment will benefit him a lot. I think for himself, I think it's a really great choice to change totally. New league, not even, going to Roma, Napoli, but going in a new league, a club that is ambitious, playing the Champions League, new start. He mastered the language extremely well. He speaks English better than me. So Chiesa I'm thinking he will do well. He will need a bit of time and he will be there.
But I think he's going to be afforded that time as well, to be honest, Giuseppe, because Liverpool aren't asking him to come in and hit the ground running necessarily. We've won our first 2 games of the Premier League season, of course, but we've got Mohamed Salah, we've got Diogo Jota, we've got Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo. We don't need Chiesa to come in and be the star of the show straight away. It'd be nice if he did, of course, but he will have that time to get used to how we play and to get used to the Premier League and to just become more accustomed and at home to the systems and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, thankfully, he can go from 1.8 potentially to 2.0 whilst also not being needed too much. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense, really. Just on that then, I guess, what for you is the 2.0 version of Federico Chiesa? What type of player is he stylistically? Because you mentioned how sort of ferocious he was in terms of his speed, his acceleration earlier on. Will it be different from that now? Does he have the qualities to become a different type of player as well in terms of his technical ability? Has he got that within him to remold and reshape his game and be a different but equally as effective version?
I believe yes, but he needs to want it. I think he's the biggest block to himself, I think, to become a new version of that Chiesa. That will be the biggest obstacle. Now, he will have at Juventus, he was expecting to be the star. And if he was not treated like that, I think that didn't work really well. While at Liverpool, he will have a lot of competition where he will need to reinvent himself faster, because if he wants to play, he needs to prove every single day. And that, I think, that will be the biggest opportunity for him to say, okay, now I need from scratch to work to reinvent myself. What kind of player can he become? Look, he has the power in his left and in his right foot. He can play on both sides. He's a player that, was using that unpredictability, that he can go on the left, that can go on the right, can also dribbling his man, past his man. I think he needs to become a bit less explosive, but a bit more involved into the game, which actually we tried last season to put him a bit more in that 3-5-2 system, making him actually more central in that field, which he didn't really like, but actually he's really good in that job. He can do it. It's just him liking that role. So I believe it's a player that if he wants to become that Chiesa 2.0, he will need to be more central, more involved, probably with the ball, giving the ball much faster than he was having in the past. In the past, he was keeping that ball, he was looking up front, and he was rushing. One thing that he needs to improve is he needs to look up. That's, according to me, one of his biggest weakness. It's a player that is looking at the ground. He's looking at the ground and he's going, he's rushing, he's burning the field. If he's able to put up his head and looking at his teammates that are around him and surrounding him, I'm totally sure that he will see the other opportunities, leaving the ball faster, running up, and being available between the lines to receive that ball. And he can become that new version of Chiesa.